intrepid explorers are here. We have the barbarian, alongside him the dwarf, the wizard, and of course our plucky elf. And they are going to be up against the Skaven today. What a motley crew that they are. We're going to be using the Warhammer Quest generator. So from the adventure book Warhammer Quest, the way I do it, just to pick up a random, is to roll a d6. There are actually 5 objective rooms, but I just re-roll 6s, and then you do another d6. So I rolled the Fountain of Light on this one, and then on my second d6 I got Noble's Rot. So you flip through and it just gives you a little bit of flavour. So in Noble's Rot, we have basically the foul power of pestilence and decay has taken over the water supplies, and we've been called in to fix it, basically. We're like plumbers. And the fountain room, basically, it's the source of pure water, and we have to go and collect a sample of it to clean the water in the village. So yeah, that's what they're going to be doing today. So the way that we play this is that I use the matrices from Advanced Heroquest. I lay out the enemies in order, so that's effectively them from all the tables, apart from the specialist, where I actually have some monsters that I've created. Again, as when I create these, I give roughly the stats, and then I give them some flavour. But as you'll see later in the video, I'm still unhappy with some of the stats. But effectively, I shuffle them out in random order, and then I lay them out, which is effectively the priority list in terms of activation. So, for example, in a second, we'll see that I will demonstrate. So let's say a room's generated, and then I roll to see what there is. And let's say it's a lair, for example. So I will roll a dice, and the matrix says who we're going to generate. So I roll a 10 here, which is effectively 2 Night Runners and 2 Warriors. And then what happens is that I will be looking for where they are. So there's the Night Runner and there's the Warrior, and I push them up just to show that they're active, and that will be the order in which they activate. So when it's their turn, when it's Zargon's turn, we will have the Night Runner go first, followed by the Warrior. It's just to give it a little bit of automation. So this is how we start our games, really, which is the classic Advanced Heroquest. We start with a staircase into the dungeon, and then 2 passageways, ended by a junction piece. The original had little jigsaw pieces on the side, so you could denote whether it was a T-junction or right turn or left turn, but I pre-printed these little tokens, which just means I can place them. So the startup is always a T-junction, so effectively the heroes are coming into the dungeon from wherever they come, and and are presented then with the the generation aspect. I refer to so there's 2 phases for the game. There's exploration phases, and then there are combat phases, and I'll take you through a few turns of each. The exploration phase, effectively, the heroes to move 12 before it is the GM's turn. I will say that now that I speak of Zargon. That's not because I'm American, but just because a lot of the pre-printed cards have Zargon. That's what the remake went with, and to be honest, it's easier than saying GM all the time. But you know, you'll see that there's a lot of automation in the game, but also a lot where I just play for, you know, the narrative aspect. The new Heroquest isn't in the Warhammer world, but my love is the Warhammer world. That's what I grew up with, the original Heroquest, Advanced Heroquest. Unfortunately, by the time Warhammer Quest 95 came out, I was interested in other things as a teenager. But yes, very much this is set in the Warhammer world, and that's where I've taken a lot of inspiration. You know, the art style, the new cards doesn't quite hit there, but it's close enough. Yeah. So effectively, what's going to happen now is that you know, we're using the objective room. We're not going to get that far in this video, but our guys are entering this dungeon looking for that water source. So what we do is move everybody up to 12, which always takes you to that first T-junction, and then you use the Advanced Heroquest method to generate what happens next. So I always look at the left-hand side. I use this cheat sheet where effectively there are 3 dice rolls, but I combine it, and that's why it's color-coded. So the white dice is the passage length, passage features is the red, which is 2d12, and then the passage end, which is the black dice. So I just roll it all, combine the roll just for ease, really. And there's a lot of dice rolling, and I just try and minimise it. So what we'll see from this is that we've got a 6, which will denote just one section of new dungeon. The original had 3 sections, but because of my game table size and just wanting to condense things, it's just got an actually have 2 sections. In terms of features, we've got an 18, which is a generation of 2 doors. Now there's no specifications of where you put the doors, so I just tend to put what's logical whilst taking into consideration my game interface. You'll see that I put the double squares, and that's to avoid the bottlenecking problems that many dungeon crawlers have. So yeah, and then lastly we have a dead end. So this junction is not going to go any further, but there are 2 doors for us to explore. So there's just going to be put in the dungeon, you know, a rock fall or something like that, in which denotes that it's not going any further. Can check for secret doors, but not yet. So in terms of looking at it's the Dungeon Master's turn, so I just use the game's original one, which is a 1 or a 12. You know, you put a track for 1 or a 12. Track for 1, 12 for a wandering monster. However, there is some additional ones if you want to use the counters, where effectively you roll a dice, and on a 1 or 12 you pull a counter, and then the counters have their own rules. But I don't do that in this playthrough because I'm still playing with the complexity. I've also got these random event cards, which again I pulled off the internet, and effectively they, you know, some have got the shield on and they favour the adventurers a little bit more, and then there is the skull card as well, which favours Zargon, and effectively what you do at the beginning of the turn, so not the beginning of the Dungeon Master's turn, but the beginning of each turn, you roll the dice and see what happens. You get a black shield, there's no event. So in this case I rolled the lion shield, so this should be one that favours the party more. So in this one the combat gets decidedly aggressive, all figures engaged in combat, and this turn may roll 1 additional attack. Now we're in exploration phase, so effectively this isn't going to do anything, though I still haven't decided. There's a lot of cards in there, and a lot of them are relevant for every quest, so I might just walk through them to make sure that I just pick relevant ones per quest. But it just adds a bit of flavour. The original Heroquest had no random events. I'm still toying around with that. So we now need to generate the right hand side. So again, I roll my collection of dice. So 8, again, it's just one section. It's quite a stubby little dungeon this is turning out to be. Then we're looking at 17, which in this case is 2 doors. So it may not be the deepest of dungeons, but it's certainly a lot of doorways. And then lastly, in terms of the end, I got a 10, which in this case is a left turning. Now, again, depending on space, I might play around with this. If it's a left, I can do a right, then I'll switch it around. So there we are. That's our first exploration zone. Zargon had a go and no counters, so now we're moving the heroes to explore the first room. And we'll go in a minute, the generation of the room. Again, I had to use the Advanced Heroquest rules for this. There is, again, this is a slightly modified version, and effectively it's to make sure there's not endless dungeons. So really the first 2 rooms, you won't get a quest room, but after that you get an increasingly likelihood of generating a quest. So in this case it would be the fountain room. And it's just to make sure that there's a bit of cinematic essence and we're not just plodding around dungeons forevermore. So in this case I rolled an 11, which is a lair, so that's a large room type. Now the dungeon tiles I use are 5x5 in the base game. Advanced Heroquest came with larger rooms, but I don't use those tiles. Not only are they a bit too small, as much as I love the classic art, I also think it's a little bit too cheerful, where I like these grungier ones. So effectively what I take is 2 normal sized rooms and just plonk them together. As you'll see in a moment, I will switch out that top one because I just grab what's closest to me. I've got enough for them to be thematic. But yeah, you effectively just join the 2 rooms together. So as you can see, as if by magic, I've actually replaced it. So this is one large room. Now, there are rules, I think, in Advanced Heroquest for furniture, but to be honest, I don't get too technical about this. I just figure out the theme of the dungeon, and then I just have a bit of play. I think putting obstacles in the room disadvantages both monsters and the player. So as long as it's a bit strategic, it can just be a bit of fun. I try not to go too crazy because it's a bit difficult to now roll for doors out of the room. In this case, I'm rolling 10, which is 2 more doors to that. And just generating these few bits is already, I believe, 6 doors in which to explore and continue. We don't follow through on this playthrough, though I might continue doing it, but effectively, there's lots to explore. Now in this case I rolled a 12, which is on the layers chart, so that's 3 champions, and because there was the asterisk I have to roll on the specialist, which I rolled 10. So we have in this pool of enemies, we have I think it was 4 warriors, 3 champions, and the assassin. So the assassin, because I've added here, what I'm going to do is take the champion and the warrior, I'm going to pull them out the normal lineup, and then what I'm going to do is shuffle the deck here to bring our priority list. Again, possibly doesn't need it, but it's just to kind of give that sense of randomization in the prioritization. It just means it helps the heroes focus on who they might want to attack first. You see the assassin, again, all created by myself, give him a special rule that he can basically split his movement between attacks. So he's got 10, he can make 5 attack and then dart away with this other 5. But yeah, I am still working out the balance of this, because while I wanted the game to be like Advanced Heroquest, which was tough, people did die, it's hard combat, I do need to get the balance slightly right because I'm using a different combat system. So here's the board really, look at this massive gruesomeness. So we've got the classic Advanced Heroquest, which are the warriors. We've got Aristatin here, which is a clan rat, which I can't really get the camera right, but you know, it's wielding a knife and looking meekly and devilish. And then we've got a couple of, got a new one of the Skaven, a classic metal Skaven, and a clan rat as well, so denoting the champions. This is really where we switch over to the Hero Quest rules in a minute. The initiative I do from Advanced Heroquest, to be fair, but I don't do the same rule. I effectively look to mind points. Now obviously we have got the wizard in the party. Now if we didn't have the wizard, we may not have such an advantage of mind. I'm still playing around with whether it should just be whoever goes into the room first or the leader of the group. I haven't really decided that yet. But effectively, you know, we've got our heroes. They're pumped up because they've been on a few adventures, and I'm just trying to work out the balance of the game at the moment, just to see, you know, because it was brutal when they had just a default. Right, so I'm just going over to the mind points. There's the assassin who's got 3. So there's an opposed roll basically: white dice for heroes, black dice for the monsters. So you would take the 6 from the wizard with the 3, which is 9, and then the 3 from the assassin with the 3 is 6. So the heroes go first. Had the monsters rolled higher, they would have gone first, which really is then quite brutal. So effectively we use the Heroquest movement system here, and this is just to sort of have those moments where heroes can't quite get to where they want to go. The barbarian in this case has gone straight to the nearest warrior, and again this is where we use the Heroquest system. So we have the attack dice. The barbarian has his broadsword, and as you'll see in a second, he's going to roll to hit. So the combat system is purely from Heroquest. So there he's got 2 skulls, which denotes to hit. And the warrior has defense of 2 dice. So he will roll those dice, and in this case he gets no. Obviously monsters need the black shield to defend. He's only got 1 body point, so he takes us 2 hits and he is dead. I'll put him aside so we can worry about loot if we live. That is. The next, the dwarf, and he's got a stick, so he's going to charge into the room on his little legs, and we shall see that he heads for another one of the warriors. The dwarf has got a shield, but he's got nothing which improves his attack, so he just gets 2 dice. She rolls and he gets 1 hit. The Skaven warrior again rolls his 2 dice and he scores no saves. So that's another warrior dispatched. The heroes are doing very well at the moment. So the elf now comes along. He rolled a 12, I think. Now I do use the death zones for this. So when heroes are in adjacent spaces, they're not diagonals, they are locked in and can't move past enemies. The elf's got broadsword, I've upgraded him, so he whops with a 3 dice. So he in this case scores 2. Now the assassin has got a defend of 3 dice, but obviously the black skulls, which are less frequent, and he rolls none of them. He's got 2 body points, so on this occasion he's actually dead. That might be something I'll try him a few times to see if he needs to be toughened up, as he's one of the bosses, though he does have special ability. So I need to, again, it's all about balance. He's an assassin, he's going to be weakly armoured, so who knows. The wizard, now I'll give him all 12 spells because the elf has his own spells, and the wizard's always deemed a bit unpowerful. There's still only 1 use only, but in this case I'm going to take the Fire of Wrath, which gets 1 body point of damage unless the warrior can roll a 5 or a 6. So the wizard's going to take that. In hindsight, perhaps should have taken one of the bigger enemies down. But anyway, the warrior only rolled a 4, so he's woofed, bloated into a ball of fire on this occasion. So that's the hero's turn. So now we look at the priority list. So it's going to be the Skaven champion and the Skaven warriors following afterwards. So there's 3 Skaven champions. They've got movements of 8. Now, it's situational. In this case, I've just gone straight to the elf because the closest character. So he's now going to attack. The Skaven warrior attacks with 4 dice, which is very aggressive. In that case, on this thing, he rolled 2 skulls, 2 hits. Now the elf has nothing in terms of any defences. He's got spells, but he can't use them as a reaction. He can only use them on his turn, so he just rolls the 2 dice. We need 2 shields to defend, and he gets none. So we take those 2 hits. I just use these little counters for their health bar. Kind of reminds me of a video game. And so now the next champion comes along. Like I say, he comes into contact with the wizard. You could argue that the wizard's the weakest and the champion goes for him, but again, I just do it thematically. He rolls his 4 dice, and on this occasion just gets 1 hit. Lucky for the wizard. Now the wizard again has nothing in his arsenal, so he just gets his default roll, of which he doesn't get, so he loses 2 points. You can see, if you saw my card, you can see why I've got so many health potions, because they're very much needed in this game. So the last champion now will come forward, and he goes straight into the dwarf, and he rolls big, 4 skulls. That's a mighty hit. Now the dwarf does have a shield, so he rolls an extra in defense. Unfortunately though, he doesn't defend any. I don't know what he's doing with his shield, but he loses 4. That's over half his health gone. So as you can see, that kind of Warhammer Quest element really, not Warhammer Quest, Advanced Heroquest element of these tough, big rooms, lots of enemies, randomly generated. So obviously I rolled a 12, so you would expect it's at the top end of things. Just looking to finish up a little bit. The Barbarian was getting another go, and this is me now working out whether these champions are a little bit too tough, because I was rolling dice. Yes, it's down to the die roll. That's 2 hits there on the skull, got 1 wound because he couldn't defend. But these guys have 3 hit, it's a hard balance. It's not knowing what to do. So again, the elf rolled 2. It's just something which I need to work on. Just try and figure out, the balance of this. So the wizard, on his last go, he uses Sapphire Skull, which gives him a ranged attack, which is quite tasty, really. He rolls his 2 dice, gets 2 hits, which is really good. And again, I want my hero to roll powerful, but I want it to be tough as well. But they roll 1, so that's again another hit off the champion. I think I'm only considering this because obviously, the enemy's got some big hits in that first round, which took, like wizard to half, dwarf less than half, and a couple off the elf. So I just need to have a little go of rebalancing. What I'll do is play the scenario a few times. I mean, like I say, I can't remember now off the top of this, but I know in hindsight now that I rolled a 12 where 3 champions and 4 warriors plus an assassin. It was always going to be tough. But again, between sort of using, I've created some of the monsters, and I've just sort of gone what logically seems like tougher monsters for sort of the champions and the warlords and the other things, but it is just something I am going to keep going and trying and just finding the balance right, but it's all good fun. So yeah, we shall see if I come back to this or if perhaps I'll do something else. Thank you.